Alright, in this tutorial we're going to look at a few more different ways of adding text to your layout in a relatively fast fashion. If we just start a new job, you'll be introduced to method 1, which is the quick start wizard. Basically this allows you to create a quick and dirty layout. We can assign the dimensions for our plate. We can also add in multiple lines if we wanted to for that plate and get started. So if we say yes right now, we'll get our layout just the way we asked for it, 200 by 100 with 5 lines of text. So there you go, text already on the screen, ready to type away, you can go for your life. So we'll just delete all that for now and we'll go along with a few others. Another one which you might be familiar with by now is drawing the text boxes yourself by clicking on the A. You can do this by just simply clicking the A and then dragging a rectangle to whatever size you want and then clicking it. And you can do this multiple of times as well. Or if you know exactly what sort of line you want, you can create the first one, and if you want one exactly the same beneath it, just simply hit Control Enter. Will also produce the same line based on the first one which you Control Entered on. So there's another way. Now the third way of doing it is again by going from the plate menu and selecting autoplate, which is very similar to the quick start guide, except the quick start only occurs on a new job, whereas the autoplate wizard you can bring up at any time you want. So for instance, I'm going to create 3 lines of text here. I'm going to set the text occupancy to say 70%, and I'm going to give it a top margin say of 20, just push it down a little bit. In addition to that, I'm going to play with the ratios. I want the first line to be twice as large as the other two, so we're just going to adjust the ratio like so, and you've got your preview right there. So we click on Apply Changes, you've got 3 lines. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move these lines over to the right a little bit, and going back into autoplate again, I'm going to do some more work, but I'm going to add some more lines to it. So to do that, you just simply click on Add these lines to layout, and then whatever I produce, you can see the 3 red lines there, that's what's already on the layout. So I've got a relatively good idea here. When I start playing with this, I know that I've got to be very careful of what I've already got on my plate. 50, and we can put a right margin in of say 45. Nope, that's nowhere near enough. Say 100. And I've got my extra lines like so. Now of course if I wanted to scrap this particular layout but wanted to keep the lines, I can still go back into autoplate and just say, right, I've got my 5 lines, 0 off that margin there, set that margin back to 16, click yes, and then I'm back to my 5 lines all in a row like so. Now if I wanted to make various columns, for instance, there's a few ways of doing that too. I can either go, hey, I've got my 5 lines, I now want 3 different columns, and I can just simply with my selection drag that in, right click on it, select copy, then paste it, and end up with columns like so. But you can see that was a little bit rough. I didn't really take too much care with my placement. So you can see here that these 2 lines aren't exactly perfectly lined up, so I just copy pasted and dragged it across. Now if you wanted to, I could say select this one and see that, okay, this one's at 49.88, that's fine. Select this one over here and go, okay, well this one's at 50, so if I change that to 49.88, I know that that's perfectly lined up. If I then select this one and go, okay, 49.88, I can then level those up, and I've got 3 level columns of lines. So that's one way of doing, a series of columns, but it's a little bit long-winded. So what we'll do, we'll just delete all of these, and I'll show you the next option, which ironically under the options menu is columnise. So if you click on columnise, we've got our plate width and dimensions already figured out. First thing it asks you is how many columns do you want? Well, let's just replicate what we just had. So I want 3 columns. How many lines per column? I think we had 5, so I want 5 lines per column. You can also adjust the top and bottom margins. So let's put in a header. So I'll bring it down to about 20. Yep, and that's all fine. Click on OK, and there you go. We've got our columns all worked out. Spacing's all perfect. The levels are all perfect. It's all the same height. And then if I really wanted to, I can come across the top here and actually drag in my title. And then I've got my 3 cells of columns. So you've got a few different ways of doing it. And of course, after that as well, you can select the boxes. You can resize them if you wanted to. You can move them to any other portion of the layout. You can do whatever you wanted with them. And that's it.